Welcome everybody, welcome back to the AI Leverage Lab. My name is Sven, and in this nice video I will show you how you can implement the Sora 2 video node, the new one that n8n provides, and you can also see if you want to implement the old or alternative KIE.AI node and process and save some money, save like up to 40% of the pricing that ChatGPT and OpenAI charge originally, then stick with it and let's dive into the process that we've set up here for you. So what you see here is the process to actually compare two processes, two ways to create videos with Sora 2 that has been all over YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram the whole last month. And what I want to show you are two different ways that I use with my clients that are in the legal field, and the other one is in an engineering field, in the surveying engineering field. So let's actually start with that one. So surveying engineers are those guys that are standing on construction sites and on the side of the road and just measure civil things and just measure things. And what we wanted to create were, first of all, in that field, an ad, and that ad needed to solve a problem for that surveying engineering company, because the surveying engineers, they usually have jobs and they're never on job boards, but the surveying engineering company needs new employees. So how do they actually get these new employees? They get them by creating content that is share-worthy, that is likable, and that is somewhere around the TikTok and Google Shorts sphere, that kind of gets the attention of those surveying engineers and would make them more likely to click on ads or click on job ads from that particular company. So what we came up with were videos that finally looked something like this. Let me actually move this aside here and go into some of the examples here. So one would be like this.
Here we see the elusive land surveyor surviving on caffeine and GPS signals. And just like that, the perfect measurement is gone.
Yeah, so that is one. Then there are some in a similar style that supposedly have these engineers there. We also created a few ones inside the KIE.AI backend here on page and saw how that turned out.
Here we see the elusive land surveyor surviving on caffeine and GPS signals. And just like that, the perfect measurement is gone.
Okay, so yeah, we tried with a few different versions, and we also tried it with the Sora 2 node directly in n8n, which is the new one that has been created by n8n, and that is an official node that was introduced a couple days ago. So let me actually jump to one of the results that was created by the Sora 2 node. So I actually went to the executions here and took a look at the original creations that we did over the day so far. And one was, for example, was like this.
Here we see the elusive land surveyor surviving on caffeine and GPS signals. Patient, meticulous, he lines up the perfect shot. And just like that, the perfect measurement.
Okay, and it just stops because the Sora 2 node only allows for up to 12 seconds of video, yeah, in the middle here as well. And another one was fairly similar.
Here we see the elusive survey technician. He survives on caffeine and GPS signals. He lines up the tripod with exquisite care, and is the perfect measurement got.
Yeah, so what we see is there is a certain vibe to all of them, but the quality is very mixed. So whatever you do, just prepare that we're still at the on the path where this is awesome, but you will definitely need to have some financial freedom to generate a couple of these videos for each one that you expect to be great. And what I can absolutely recommend is really do a great job at prompting the shots, whatever you want to do. So, for example, like we have some simple ones, some simple funny ones, like a junior marketing associate is caught on webcam just before a client call. They're covered their entire face with colorful sticky notes while testing creative brainstorming avatars. The manager walks in before they can explain the office. Voice assistant chimes in. What a brilliant idea. The manager just stares, speechless. Caption, innovation looks weird before it works. So this is a pretty simple one, and that worked out pretty well, actually. Let me actually think if I can find that here. So there we go. Finally found it. Actually, let's go restart this.
What a brilliant idea.
Big brainstorm, huh?
Yeah.
Carry on, genius.
Yeah, so it absolutely does have some comedic talent, I would say. But interestingly, in many cases, this, especially the comedic talent, is disrupted when the timing is off, because you didn't prompt it in such a way that it actually made the setup at the punchline into two different things. So let me actually show you what I mean. So here in the following example, there was a different setup. So this wasn't for the surveying engineering company. This was for a legal company, and that legal company is actually helping influencers that are on the brink of becoming more and more famous. So they're targeting people that have 5,000 to 100,000 followers. So not too small, but not too big either. So they're not really in the hands of big corporations yet, but they're on the brink of first having to pay taxes for what they create as influencers, right? And so it's a boring topic, but making influencers aware of taxes can be a funny thing. And it could look like this, for example.
And that's when reality hits. Don't let taxes ruin your vibe. We keep your influencer life legal and chill.
Pay attention to what makes you like this and what makes you not like this. So for example, like that it's 15 seconds seems really like those extra 3 seconds compared to a 12-second video make a big difference. So we have a 12-second video here from Sora directly.
And that's when reality hits. Don't let taxes ruin your vibe. We keep your influencer life legal and chill.
Yeah, it seems much shorter, and in some cases it just ends up in a weird way. So let's look at this one.
And that's when reality hits. Don't let taxes ruin your vibe.
Calm, warm background music resumes. Chill.
So it still has that text there. That's great. And what is that basically the build-up is great. Yeah, there's a great humorous build-up and expectation. Yeah, become famous and awesome, and you have new brand deals, and you're just on cloud 9, and then bam, up till here it's good. Yeah, up to the point where it knocks. Yeah, then I don't know. It's a weird mix between the full front face picture and then the timing of the narration is off. Yeah, until here, perfect.
And that's when reality hits.
And then here, it shouldn't say that here, right? We shouldn't be following the narrative basically and still having to hear the narrator. And that will be something that is important if you want to prompt more complex videos with Sora, with Veo 3.1, and with all the other tools that are going to be out there, and they're already out there. So what you will need to do is you've got to pay attention to really different beats and different different scenes. And KIE does that in a fantastic way. So KIE.AI, first of all, has, let's dive into this a little more, has this Sora 2 text to video endpoint. And that endpoint is basically the cheapest one. It is 15 cents per 10-second video. So that is good if you want low quality video, if you want to just play around with it. If you want to have a much higher quality video, but also are willing to pay a much higher price as well, it's going to be this one that is going to be like 630 credits, so about $3 to $4 per 15-second video, which is still cheaper than the original Sora, the Sora node. And what you also have in here, you have the ability to create these videos in a 15-second length and not only 12 seconds. And you do also have the great opportunity, the possibility to remove the watermarks, which, especially if you're producing videos like these videos, these funny ones for companies, they're not going to appreciate if you're having watermarks by Sora in there. And that is something that I'm not going to dive into today, just for the length of the video reasons. There is the Sora 2 Pro storyboard, which allows you to actually create up to 25-second videos, which is awesome, and where you can really dive into different scenes and really describe what each scene needs to do and how it needs to have consistent characters. And now, for our purposes, as long as we're not completely creating different scenes within KIE.AI, it is still possible to not only have these very simple setups and those very simple prompts, but you can also go into, let me see where we have it here, and have these scene descriptions of beat by beat, and seeing, okay, what happens when and what does the narrator say at a certain point. So you're really following that storyboard down to the second. And then finally, it might be necessary that to have that inside n8n, you will need to have that as a JSON ready, because otherwise it's not going to work in many cases, because it's going to screw up the code. So let's now come to the actual editor here. And what we have here is we have the process set up in such a way that we have a form submission. So if I click execute workflow, we enter that prompt. So up until now, we've set it up in such a way that we'll do the research and the fine tuning of the prompt outside of n8n. And there would be something when you do that, you would probably talk to your client and say, okay, is there a certain, what is your real use case? And on a daily basis, similar to, remember those custom GPTs that nobody really used, but you could definitely set up custom GPTs, or in this case, prompts in such a way that it helps the client to really get the videos that they need. So you would give some more context to the within the creation process. So we haven't included that in here yet, but that would be a next step. So if those things, just to mention, if those things are interesting to you, then come over to our school.com classroom, to our community, and let's work on this stuff together, because that's what we do there, help you to create those custom workflows there, right? Or if you want to have the JSON files from this workflow and so on, then just come over, visit us there. We have a form submission, and on that form submission, two things are going to happen in sequence. So first of all, we have I would almost say like the traditional Sora 2 process within KIE.AI, and then the one that targets the Sora node just directly, right? And within here, we have the following setup. That's where we have all the setup details here for the API. We have the endpoint up here, and then we have the request parameters, the string for the model, the one that we have in the top here, or if you are using one of the other ones that you are just going to replace. And then where is that? Yeah, just take the curl and take it and implement that, copy it into your HTTP request node here, right? So if you've never done this, click tab, And then you have the HTTP request node. And from the HTTP request node, you can click import curl and just paste that in there. So this is request node. Don't need that right now. So what do we have in here? We have the endpoint, we have the authentication none in this field, but then we have the specification of the header, which is the authorization as the bearer token. In this case, of course, 1234 is a placeholder. So what you would do is you would have your, where is it actually? Let's go over here again. You would go and have your authorization bearer and your API key, right? So you would get your API key. Actually see if we can get this over here. Yeah, you get the API key just from over here, right? And then copy paste that in there. Then let's move, zoom out a little bit. The JSON, and the JSON here, and that is basically what we've seen over in the other scene description or in the other part up here. So that is just the length of the videos, the removal of the watermarks, the size, and the model. Once we have that, we need to have that usual setup that is always necessary when you have asynchronous API calls. So since it takes up to 20 minutes, if you take a look at the executions here, and we have 24 minutes of execution time to run these. Like the Sora 2 node, if we only take those that come from the Sora 2 node here, they're a little faster, I think. But also we have set it up in such a way here that this is only the smaller size. So it could be due to the smaller size. And of course, they're a little shorter. We have that setup where we have that wait node that just waits a minute in this instance here. And then we have the HTTP request where we get the record info, so the status, and see that how far is the process of the generation. And that's what you can see here when you click on the query task, where you see the record info, and then it needs a task ID and your authentication again. Yeah, so you set that up in here again, and then you have the HTTP request. You have the if generating is equal to still generating. Yeah, if that JSON data state, yeah, that we get out of that previous node here, if that is still generating, then repeat. Yeah, so if true, then zoop, go back. And then if it's false and if it's a success, then if that is equal to a success, then go and download the finished video. So it's going to give you a temporary image URL, a video URL, I'm sorry, and it's going to give you that URL that you can just take, or just continue this process by just uploading that to YouTube or to TikTok, or you can store it in a Google Drive or whatever you and your client are planning on doing. Yeah, I think for this video, this is it. I think you can play around with this. Maybe take a look at, what did we do here? Yeah, take a look at the logs. In KIE.AI, you have a great overview of the creations so far. And you can see like those that are only created with a Sora 2 text to video and not the Pro text to video. They're like they have 35 credits instead of 630 credits. So there's like a 20x difference there. And for playing around and for testing purposes, that is great. It's faster, it's cheaper, and then you just switch models and see what works, which is it's important to take a look at the money, because it can get pretty pricey pretty quickly. Yeah, I think for this video, this was it. If you like these kind of videos, then let me know what else you want to see. Come over to our school community and join the AI Leverage Lab. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe, and we'll see each other in one of the next videos and have some more fun. Thank you so much for watching, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.